Welcome back, Sebastian here. So today I'll be going over my review for the 2023 Japanese Grand Prix and then also give my, for something new, 3 big talking points from the race. So it started with Verstappen on pole, Piastri second, Sargent started from the pit lane. I guess they changed some parts of the car that required them to brake park firme. So Norris gets a really good start and jumps Piastri. Paris has a very slow start, and then that combined with Hamilton and Sainz having very good starts means that we basically have four cars across, going across, and there's contact between Paris and Hamilton. Roughly half of Hamilton's car ends up on the grass, but he keeps it in control. However, Paris gets damage from that contact. And then further back, Bottas and Albon made contact as well. Whole bunch of damage, and it also damaged Zhou's car behind. So basically Zhou was just collateral damage in that whole mess. I'm not really sure whose fault it was for either. I'll have to look at the replays after and then kind of give my final judgment during my power rankings. Lap 2, so of course because of the damage we get a safety car, and then lap 2, Perez pits for front wing damage and Bottas too. Perez then lap 4, making his day even worse, is under investigation for a safety car infringement. And basically what happens is that when a car comes in through the pits and they come out, there's a line called the safety car line, which is basically used to decide the order of where a car that's coming out of the pit lane should filter in. And he was behind, at that safety car line point, he was behind everyone else, but he effectively overtook a couple cars behind the safety car, even though it doesn't really look like he did so. So we got a 5-second penalty for that. Safety car comes in, we get restarted, and Bottas and Perez both having absolutely awful days. Bottas gets hit by Sargent at turn 11. Sargent just locks up trying to make an overtake at the hairpin, and he basically just hits Bottas, spins him around, and sends him into the gravel, and he was given a 5-second penalty for that move. Lap 9, first pit stops by Hulkenberg and the AlphaTauris, and Tsunoda undercuts his teammate Lawson, who got ahead of him at the start of the race. Lap 12, Perez decides to basically smash into the side of Magnussen at turn 11, same place where Sargent made his mistake, damages his front wing again, and he pits for a new front wing, dropping him all the way to the back. They decide to pit for soft tires, which also effectively ruined his strategy for the whole race. Lap 15, a couple laps later, he comes on the radio saying that the car was basically undrivable and they decide to retire the car. Lap 16, Hamilton makes a small mistake at turn 10, goes a bit wide, which gives Russell the opportunity to try to make a move into turn 13, the first of the 2 spoon curves. And he effectively just shoves Russell wide. Russell goes off track, but luckily it's asphalt runoff, tarmac runoff there. So no harm really for Russell. It's under investigation, but no further action, which I'm not surprised because it is between teammates. Lap 17, leaders start to pit, and Piastri undercuts Norris. And then other than that, everyone else really stayed in the same order. Lap 22, Stroll pits. He had rear wing failure, so the rear wing of the car failed. That can be very scary, so it seems like they caught it before there was any kind of crash. But pretty unfortunate race for Stroll. Lap 25, Russell decides, after kind of the misadventure with Hamilton, he decides to try to go for a one-stop strategy, which no one else really tried to do. Ocon effectively did a one-stop strategy, pitting up for the hards, I think, very, very early during the safety car. But for Russell, he decides we're going to go for the one-stop strategy. Lap 27, Perez basically goes back in the car, and he basically sat there for the whole rest of the race. And I think what they were trying to do was if they got a 5-second penalty, they wanted to be able to serve the penalty and then retire the car again. So at some point, I believe that's what they did. They basically sent him out for a lap, maybe, and then served the 5-second penalty, but I'm not entirely sure what exactly happened because they didn't really show it on the feed. Lap 35, Hamilton and Leclerc start the second pit stops as pretty much everyone decided to do a 2-stop strategy. Look, Sainz Sainz comes on the radio like a couple laps later and asks if they've been undercut by Hamilton, and they can say, yes, we have. So Ferrari not really managing their strategy particularly well there. But I think that being said, because Leclerc and Hamilton pitted the same lap, I think Hamilton was too close to Sainz. So I think even if he pit the next lap, I think he still would have been undercut. Lap 37, Norris pits and Russell moves up into P2. So I know Russell was basically doing a lot of talking on the radio, very concerned that that Russell on the one-stop strategy was basically going to be able just to sit there, and he would be stuck behind him, as overtaking has historically been pretty difficult around this track. But that being said, the following lap, lap 38, Norris passes Russell pretty easily at turn 1 and is up back into his original P2 position. Lap 39, Sainz undercuts, who again was undercut by Hamilton, pits and comes out. But this time he basically has a 3 or 4 lap tire delta that he would try to use to re-overtake Hamilton. Lap 42, Piastri, who would pit as well around the same time as Norris, passes Russell to get P3, a nice move around the outside. At this point, Russell's tires are just too old and they're too worn, and there's a pretty massive pace difference between himself and the other leaders. So lap 45, a couple laps later, Leclerc overtakes Russell. Really nice move for P5. Unfortunately, the race director decided to show the overtake from Leclerc's helmet camera, so we didn't actually really get to see the overtake. All we got to see was, Leclerc just driving around the outside without being able to see Russell's car. So really strange choice of camera angle. I mean, I know it's a cool angle, but I think in those situations it just doesn't work very well. So we eventually got to see the offboard shot, and it looked very nice, which is what we should have gotten to start with. Lap 47, Russell and Hamilton, Hamilton gets very close to the back of Russell, and Hamilton requests team orders for them to switch positions. And because Sainz has caught up to the back of Hamilton, the team basically switched their positions, and he's promptly overtaken by Sainz right after Hamilton was basically told by his race engineer to basically give DRS to Russell to hold him there. Doesn't really work, isn't effective. Hamilton, if he was going to do that, he would have had to do that from the start, but doesn't really do that in time, so Russell drops down another position. Lap 53, final lap of the race, Verstappen takes the checkered flag, Norris P2, Piastri P3, first F1 podium. Sainz gets close to Hamilton but doesn't manage to overtake him. So let's see, let's go with the 3 talking points of the race. I think the first one, pretty easy, Red Bull Constructors. So Red Bull win their second straight Constructors Championship. Very well, good job for them. 6th title overall, I believe, and fully deserved. They built an absolutely amazing car, won every race but one so far this year. Number 2, I think I'm gonna go with Piastri breakthrough. So Piastri finally gets his first podium in F1. Of course, I know Norris beat him after starting behind him, but still, very impressive job by Piastri, really, for finally getting that first podium. Came very close at the British Grand Prix, if not for that late virtual safety car, I believe. British Grand Prix, of course, got that sprint podium in the race, kind of got taken out by Sainz first corner. But that being said, I don't think a podium was really on. And then number 3, I'm just going to go with, there's not enough space to write disaster class, but I'm just going to write Perez there. Really poor weekend overall for Perez, out-qualified by Verstappen by 7/10. At least two separate penalties, including the incident with Hamilton at the start. So really not a clean weekend overall. And now Hamilton's actually, you could say Hamilton's even within striking distance of Perez for P2 in the Drivers' Championship. So going into the results of the race, Verstappen P1, Norris P2, Piastri P3. So McLaren double podium, first double podium since 2021 Italian Grand Prix, of course. Leclerc P4, I think good result for him. Hamilton P5. Sainz P6, Russell P7, Alonso P8, Ocon P9, Gasly P10, and then the two AlphaTauris, Lawson and Tsunoda P11 and 12, Show 13, Hulkenberg and Magnussen bringing up the rear with their Hasses, P14 and 15. The retirements from the race, quite a few, Albon, Sargent, Stroll, Perez, and Bottas. Championship standings, Verstappen, of course, extends his lead over Perez with a very nice round number of 400 points. Perez second with 223, Hamilton third, 190, only 33 points off of Perez now. You know, Perez would basically have to have a disastrous last several races of the season for him to lose P2. But that being said, if he keeps having days like he did today, it's always possible. Alonso P4, 174 points. I think at this point P3 is not really an option. I think the cars just isn't fast enough. It's basically been going backwards almost every weekend. Sainz P5, 150, Leclerc P6, 135, Norris P7, 115. Maybe could catch Leclerc as well towards the end of the year. Russell, I believe, also on 115. Is that right? I guess they are tied, yeah. Piastri moves up to 9th in the championship, passes Stroll. Stroll moves down to 10th, 47 points. Hasn't scored points in ages. Gasly P11, 46 points. You know, it's kind of embarrassing that Gasly looks like he could be overtaking Stroll in the championship in his Alpine. P12, Ocon 38 points. P13, Albon 31, Hulkenberg 14th, 9 points. 15th, Bottas 6 points. 16th, Show 4 points. Tsunoda and Magnussen tied with 3 points. 17th and 18th. Lawson 19th with 2 points. And then Sargent, DeVries, and Ricciardo all on 0 points. So overall, you know, decent race. I think there was some strategic intrigue with the McLarens and Russell and, like, you know, with which strategy they would go on. But that being said, most of the leaders just effectively all opted to go on the same strategy except for Russell. And I do know that Verstappen in the middle stint decided to go on the mediums while everyone else did the hards. So definitely a bit of a different strategy there. That being said, all right race. Some good overtaking, which is definitely more than I think we're used to at Suzuka. Generally, it's been pretty hard to overtake. That being said, really good result, really good race overall. And of course, Qatar Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time, which is a sprint weekend. And it'll be the middle of the night for me, so that's going to be wonderful. So thank you so much for watching. We passed 100 subscribers yesterday, I believe, day before. So really happy about that. I think it's more than I expected for this year. And of course, thank you so much for watching and subscribing and liking the videos. I really appreciate it. So that's all. I'll be back in a couple hours time with my power rankings. It's still afternoon here, so I'll have time to do my power rankings today. Goodbye.